What's going on, guys? Alan here with Parrots&Co, and welcome to this video called Taming Your Parrot for Beginners. Now, if you guys stay with me to the end of this video, I have a special surprise for you to help jumpstart your parrot training journey and help you tame your parrot. So stick to the end. Now, when it comes to taming and training your parrot, those are technically two separate things. So for the taming aspect of it, we're going to focus on specifically, how to get your parrot to be a little bit more friendly, warm up, open up to you, and maybe just not be so aggressive when you try to interact with it, right? So the first thing you want to focus on is your parrot's diet, sleep, and establishing a routine. Now, with your parrot's diet, you want to make sure that it has a well-balanced diet of something like a healthy chop mix and a healthy pellet to go along with it. A lot of parrot owners that I see, sometimes they don't know any better, or when they first get the parrot from the breeder or the local bird store, they're basically on a seed diet. Now, the reason that the seed diet is not going to be the best for your parrot, number one, it has primarily fats in it, and just like you, if you ate fat all day, every day, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be the healthiest person that you can be. And it's the same thing with parrots. Having a high fat diet for parrots around seeds can lead to long-term diseases specific to parrots. So that's one of the most important things as to why we want to get rid of it. It's for the health of your parrot. Number two, it's going to help in the taming process with your parrot. So if you have unlimited amounts of Ben & Jerry's ice cream in your refrigerator and somebody offers you Ben & Jerry's in exchange for doing a trick or for hanging out with you, you're gonna say, not that interested. I'm not sold, right? Same thing with parrots, right? If they're eating a seed-based diet all the time and you try to go use a reward like treats or nuts that they already have access to as a treat, they're not gonna be interested. This is gonna be important for the taming process. The next component is sleep. If your parrot isn't sleeping at least 12 hours a night in a completely controlled, uninterrupted, dark environment, well, you can probably guarantee that your parrot's not going to be functional or wanting to listen to you because it's not got proper sleep. It's basically like giving your parrot 8 hours of sleep would be the equivalent of you getting 5.5 hours of sleep every single night and then trying to function. Not the best, right? And then the last component is routine. When you're first getting your parrot and you're getting them used to you, you want to establish some sort of routine so that they can kind of feel some sense of normalcy and get used to their new environment as they start getting familiar with you. So you want to establish a routine with them. And from there, the next thing that we want to have dialed in for our taming process is desire. Now, desire is essentially your willingness for your bird to want to accept treats from you and start seeing you as a source of positivity and having positive interactions with you. We do this through treats, maybe through the cage when you're first getting started, right? And there's three components that go into desire. Number one, mainly motivation, right? How motivated is your parrot to want to accept treats from you? Again, that's why we take care of the diet as one of the first things that we want to make sure we have to, get checked off. If your parrot already has access to, nuts and seeds, it's not going to want nuts and seeds from you for the most part. So motivating your parrot is one component. The second component is timing, right? So when you try to interact with your parrot and give it treats is also going to be important in terms of what time of the day you do it. Now, if you're not feeding your parrot twice a day, meaning once for breakfast and then toward the afternoon, the second feeding your parrot, chances are if it has unlimited access to food, it's not gonna want to be very motivated to accept treats, right? Because it's already full. So I recommend you do the most of the interaction and taming either before breakfast or before its afternoon feeding so that it has the right timing, the right motivation. And the last component is treat selection, right? So if your parrot doesn't like specific treats that you're trying to give it, it's probably not going to be motivated to want to try to interact with you. So just try to figure out what treats your parrot likes. What you can do to figure that out is to have a few components or a few different treats in a bowl, see which one your parrot starts eating first, and from there, you'll kind of figure out which is the number one, number two, and number three favorite treats, right? So I know with me and Alfie, my Senegal parrot, when we first got started, I kind of tried to do too much with Alfie in the beginning. And because, those first, 1 to 4 weeks of you having your parrot and bringing it home, it's really going to quote unquote imprint a lot of how it feels about you based on your early interactions with your parrot. So I would recommend that, yes, you want to have them on your shoulder. Yes, you want to take them everywhere with you and snuggle it up because parrots are so cute. I would recommend that you kind of take things slow and try not to do too much. Learn to read your parrot's body language and figure out, okay, my parrot is comfortable to an extent when I do X, Y, Z. And just kind of err on the side of caution in the beginning as you become familiar with your parrot, and over time you're going to figure out what your parrot likes and doesn't like, but you'll also you just set yourself up for a good foundation to start taming your parrot because it likes you, right? The other component that you want to have taken care of when taming your parrot is making sure that every interaction with your parrot is a positive one. Now, every time you approach your parrot, especially in the beginning, your pet's really observing you. It's trying to figure out, who you are, what your intentions are. So just make sure that when you approach your parrot and as you begin to interact with it, know that it's basically trying to figure out who you are. And you want to make sure that every time you interact with your parrot, for example, it's a positive one. And one of the best ways to give positive reinforcement to a parrot is through training and giving it treats. So what I used to do with Elfie back in the day is every time I would come by the cage or ask him to step out of the cage, I would give him a sunflower seed or a small piece of an almond or a cashew, so that basically he started to learn, hey, every time this human comes over, he gives me good things, he lets me out of the cage, all the things that I like, right? And he slowly started to pick up, hey, this guy Alan, he's not so bad, and that's kind of how the relationship started to get better and better over time. So that's something that I would recommend you do, is maybe try giving it treats through the cage, and when you ask it to step up, lead with a reward and an opportunity for it to, get positive reinforcement from interactions with you. Next, you want to make sure that you're spending plenty of time with your parrot. Now, owning a parrot is not like getting, a cat where you can kind of just leave them around and the cat will kind of entertain itself and come around whenever it wants attention. Parrots are completely opposite, right? They require a lot of mental, physical stimulation. They're highly social. They like to be around other people. They like to be around their flock mates. So for that reason, I would highly advise that no matter what happens, you make time for your parrot and you include them as part of your schedule. Honestly, it feels like sometimes owning a parrot is like having a child, in a sense that you're always thinking about them. You always want to hang out with them. They're always in the back of your mind. So don't, just treat it as, I got a parrot, it was cool for like a few months and now it's just kind of in its cage. You don't want to do that, because what parrots will naturally do when you don't hang out with them anymore, you leave them in the cage, clip their wings, don't give them any type of stimulation mentally or physically, they start reverting back to their kind of undomesticated tendencies, which can be aggression, fear of humans, dislike of humans, plucking, screaming, all these things that build up. So just make sure that you spend plenty of time with your parrot daily. And I like to look at it as quality and not quantity. So what I would recommend, people say, hey, how many hours should I have my parrot out of its cage? And to be honest, it depends, right? Because every parrot and every situation is different. So for example, Elfie is out of the cage basically, I would say about 4 hours a day plus sometimes. And I will have him out of the cage all day, but I'm working, so I'm not giving him focused attention or one-on-one attention. And the irony is that if he doesn't get his, afternoon or, late evening lubbies where I'm just hanging out with him, fully focused on him, giving him scratches, giving him lubbies, he still isn't happy. So for him, I think it's more about spending that one-on-one quality time than it is about how many hours he's out of the cage if I'm not really interacting with him as much. Now don't get me wrong, I'll get up in between work and I'll scratch him, I'll go say hi so he's not completely ignored, but it's gonna depend with every parrot and every owner. Now another great thing that you can do with your parrot is what I call target and clicker training through the cage, which is essentially a bridge, right? A way to communicate with your parrot, letting it know, hey, if you touch this end of this stick, usually a chopstick, I'm gonna click this clicker that makes a specific sound and a treat is coming. And this is a great way to just get it used to interacting with you in a more controlled environment. And that target and clicker conditioning is going to be important for sometimes having an aggressive parrot, getting him in and out of the cage if you can't necessarily get him to step up right away, or there's issues with your parrot trying to bite you when it's trying to go back in its cage. Good bird, Elfie. Good bird. Okay. Whoops, I dropped your snacky. I got you, bro. Right here, look. I would recommend that you start with target and clicker training and just get your parrot used to you interacting with it and getting the fundamentals of target and clicker training for mental stimulation, but also for you to start getting practice with interacting with it. And another great tip that I would recommend to essentially tame your parrot and get them used to interacting with you and used to you in general is start taking your parrot with you around the house in the beginning when you're doing things. So let's say you're potentially going to do the laundry or walk around the house and do a couple things. If your parrot is shoulder trained and it's easily able to step on and step off, and you can have them on your shoulder walking around the house and interacting with you to just kind of get used to its new environment. And really the core of what I'm getting at is you want to just make sure that you're building confidence in your parrot around you and around its environment, and you're just desensitizing your parrot to its new environment in general. This is all going to help with the taming process. So these are my recommendations for how to go about starting the taming process for your parrot, if you're a beginner. And now for the special surprise that I have for you guys. So if you go down to the description section below, I have the Parrot Shop formula, or essentially a how-to guide on parrot taming, training, and feeding that is going to set you up in terms of the fundamentals of what to feed your parrot, how much to feed it, how to weigh it, how to motivate it for your training sessions, so that you can really start the fundamentals of essentially taming your parrot. So check that out in the description section below, and thank you guys for watching. Alfie and I signing out for the day. See you guys next time.